Hello everyone, so the kit and coins are revealed already for Yisang and Olga. Olga is Outis, so I'm just going to quickly go through them. I think that Yisang is pretty much a support for Tremor characters, and I think he might not be very strong at all, yeah. But he is going to be quite interesting in Tremor comps. So let's talk about his stat lines first. Pretty much average HP with high speed as well as average defense means that he is pretty much supportly statted. Supports are usually fast characters with average health and defense. And what he wants to do, right, is he wants to get 10 tremor count in order to make his skill tree slightly above average. Right now, what happens is that 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 13. 13 is below average of a skill tree, and it's really bad to have this low damage on the skill tree. And what he needs is 10 tremor count to gain coin power plus 2, so 5, 10, and 15 plus 4. That becomes a 19 damage skill tree, which is pretty okay, but not super amazing. The main thing to note here is that he bursts tremor if the skill spends the tremor count. This is a conditional burst tremor, take note of that. And you want to burst because of this inflict 1 defense level down per 4 stagger threshold raise. But you can only max it up to 5 per 1 enemy every turn, which means you only need to raise your stagger threshold by about 20 once with this character. In order to get that burst, you will need to either use your skill 2, which also has a burst tremor skill, or your skill 3 here will also burst tremor, but you need 10. You need 10. And the problem here is that you only gain 4 with every discard here, which means he takes quite long to get to that skill tree, and thus he is actually not very useful unless you use your skill 2 to kind of do some small bursting beforehand. And then after that, you try to grind your tremor count to 10, and then you use this skill in order to make sure you do that defense level down. So the problem is that tremor count characters do not have a character to buff their tremor count gains. It's not like a Teleport Dawn, right? Teleport Dawn gives charge to all other charge characters if you, I believe you need to do triple envy in a chain to do that. And unfortunately, we don't have anything like that for tremor count. If we do, then this character will become a little bit more useful. But otherwise, it's going to take quite a while because you're going to gain 4, then you minus 1, then you get 3, right? Then if they do it again, you are at 6 now. Then you do it again, you are at 9 now. Then you do it one more time, okay, now you can use your skill 3. So it takes you 4 turns to get to this part here, and there's pretty much no other way to increase that tremor count gain. I've looked around, it's always plus 4. It's always plus 4. The only way that I've seen that you can gain even more is to give him 2 actions and then use grinding the Molars, which will discard the skill of lowest rank in all of these unit skill slots, which means that they will look for multiple skill 1s to discard or a skill 2 if that is the lowest rank skill to discard. That is a bit too bad because you do not want to give your supports more actions, you want to give your DPSs with amazing moves more actions. So this is just a bad idea overall. Overall, this character suffers from consistency issues. His skill 2 can kind of burst tremor, but you also need to have 5 plus tremor on the target. So there is consistency issues with this character, and I don't think he's even that great as a support because of those consistency issues. So I generally just would not recommend ever using this character, unfortunately, until we maybe gain some alternate ways to gain even more tremor count onto these characters. Yeah. Alright. So that's pretty much Yisang. I'm not going to really talk about much else. I just think the kid is quite lackluster for what he wants to do, and it's quite unfortunate that they did that to him. Moving on to Olga, she's actually very good. She's very, very good because of this passive here. Upon burst tremor, inflict 30% of raise stagger threshold as sloth damage, maxing up to 20 and always rounded down. So here's the thing, right? If you stack tremor potency / count on targets, you actually can pretty easily get this because tremor is reduced by 1 every turn like burn, and reduced by skills when you burst them. But for Olga, she does a lot of extra damage as long as she can burst someone. So as long as you have one character that can apply a bunch of tremor count onto a target and maybe some of that potency, you are pretty much good to go because she does not remove that much tremor count with her skills. So let's take a look at the skills now that you know that the passive does this, alright? Skill 1, Wait Up. This is a skill that you never ever want to use. You do not want to use it because you only gain 2 tremor count, and like Yi-Sang, you want to get 10 tremor count on this character. So never ever use this skill ever. It might gain final power plus 2, but trust me when I say your skill 2 and skill 3 here are amazing skills. So you never ever want to use your skill 1. In fact, you would even consider just defending, because if you defend, you actually discard your red skill. So if you get 2 red skills in your hand, just defend to toss it out. But the odds of getting 2 red skills in your hand is also reduced because every time you use skill 2 or skill 3, you also toss out your red skill every time. So you're actually just cycling through your deck very fast, and in general, you may never really end up with a situation where you get 2 reds. It's just less, but there will be some times where you have to do it, so just take note, you want to use your defense to get rid of it. Yeah, right. Besides that, I pretty much don't have to talk about anything else from this skill because it is essentially discard fodder. Even in Library of Ruina, you use Wait Up as an early game light generation source. So pretty much Wait Up here is just designed to be tossed every time. Right. And the reason why you want to toss this, right, maybe we skip to that so you understand why you want to keep tossing this. It's because when you spend 10 tremor count to gain coin power plus 2 on your skill 3 here, it is a lot of damage. The payoff is worth it. It becomes 5, 10, 15, 20, 24. 24 is a significant amount. I'm pretty sure this is pretty much Liu Ishmael, and Liu Ishmael is already very strong. So Olga having this with Liu Ishmael's like coins level damage is amazing. And even though it looks like it only does up to Liu Ishmael's damage, you need to remember that she will burst tremor on this skill tree as well. So imagine 20 damage on every single burst you do here. So yeah, do take note of that. This is actually a shit ton of damage if you set it up. Yeah. So always discard Wait Up so that you can get your big nuke turn with your daring decision. Alright, so anyway, let's move on to skill 2 first. Skill 2 is Slice. 5, 10, 15, 18. 18 is very good. 18 is, I'm pretty sure, Shank? I think Shank does 18, but it just has 1 more extra coin if you hit below a certain health threshold. So this is pretty much a Shank damage. If this skill is discarded, you gain 1 offense level up. Doesn't really matter. This is basically a skill to use. You don't mind using this skill to discard your skill 1, and if you use your skill 3 to discard your skill 2, well, so be it, then you just get 1 offense level up. Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. This skill is a bit similar to Rain, where you inflict tremor, and then at 6 plus tremor count, you will burst and reduce target's tremor by 1. Remember, when you burst, you are doing extra damage as well. So this is a very strong skill. High base damage as well as additional damage from the burst. So you will do quite a lot of damage. And then after that, skill 3 here is pretty much the game changer skill. You will burst 3 times for a lot of extra damage due to your passive. And if you can get that tremor count, good for you. If you cannot, it's also fine. Why? Because if you don't have this coin power plus 2, right, it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 12, 16. 16 is already okay. But take note, when you do that 16, you still burst. You are still bursting. Because if you look at his skills, right, if the skill spend tremor count, inflict plus 3 tremor count. But then go here, on hit burst tremor, after bursting tremor. Do you see that difference? The difference here is that Yi-Sang here needs to spend tremor count to burst. But Outis does not. She bursts no matter what as long as you use your skill 3. And that is why she's so much more consistent to Yi-Sang. She just bursts. So if you spend the tremor count, you get 3 counts for free to burst. And that will make her net 0 tremor count. But if you don't have it, you can still do it to do the damage, but you will just become minus 3 tremor count. So the difference here between Yi-Sang and Olga is very big, and ultimately this is a very strong damage dealer. So Olga, definitely very, very strong. As for the team comp, I still have not really determined who should be in the team. I was thinking Rose Spanner or Molar Ishmael, as well as Molar Sinclair, because both of those characters are pretty much the alternate versions of our old characters here. And their abilities are good at applying tremor count. Once you uptie this character to a certain level, he will actually start applying quite a bit of tremor count, and if you don't want to use this character because he's not very good, you can actually just skip straight to Molar Ishmael. Molar Ishmael will apply 3 tremor count on the skill 2 alone. And since it's on the skill 2, right? You are pretty much good to go. Why? Because she does not burst tremor, she doesn't reduce tremor in any way on any of her other skills. So as long as you use skill 2 a few times, you're pretty much good to go on the tremor count, because Olga reduces tremor count by 3, and this character inflicts 3 tremor count. So you are fine. Yeah, you are just really fine. You just need maybe like, I don't know, you can actually slap in Rose Spanner, because Rose Spanner gets blunt damage up, and also is pretty good for Refraction Railway because she has some pretty good skills here. Yeah, so honestly, the Tremor team comp looks okay so far. If you were to just include Outis and Molar Ishmael, there could be some other options that I'm missing here, but I think so far I am quite sold on these two being the main Tremor gang. The thing about Tremor, right, is that when the bosses do not have stagger thresholds, it pretty much makes Tremor useless, because that means, right, whenever you burst Tremor, you don't get extra damage. It's like worthless bursting. You're just bursting something that cannot be staggered. You might as well just speed run to the 0 HP part and just break that body part, so you're always fatal resistant. So yeah, against a lot of bosses, Tremor is not very good. The difference here for Olga is that she makes it so that when you burst Tremor, you actually do more damage. So even if you're not trying to reach stagger threshold, which she still will, as long as the boss has a stagger threshold to reach, she will still burst it, but she will also do extra damage alongside that bursting. So even if there's no bursting, she will still do damage, and if there is a stagger threshold to burst, she will also do more damage and burst to the stagger threshold. So she's really good for Tremor. This should be what all Tremor characters do. They should all just burst, and if they cannot raise the threshold, they should do bonus damage. That's literally all they needed to do for most of these other Tremor characters to make them a little bit more viable for Refraction Railway. But since it's not like that, Olga and Ishmael are pretty much the only 2 characters I might consider bringing into Railway just to go and Unga Bunga characters. Yeah. So I think that will be it for talking about the characters' kits. I don't particularly like Yisang, but Olga is very good. Elements-wise, they do provide a lot of Liu section elements. Like if you look at one of the Liu section, let's say Massault here, pretty much all of these elements here are what Yisang as well as Olga give. They give Wrath, they give Sloth, they give Lust, so you will be able to just get quite a lot of these top 3 elements here. And then bottom 3 elements, since we have a lot of good characters to use for these, we are pretty much set. You can use something like what W Dawn, W Ryoshu, pretty much they will give Pride, Gloom, Envy, use Rhino Massault, use Heathcliff, you can get more of this, yeah, you just get a bunch of these bottom elements. So top 3 element coverage is pretty nice here with this team comp. And egos, I think I mentioned them before in the previous video for these characters, but I'm not going to mention them today, yeah. Overall, I just think that Olga Ishmael in a burst Tremor comp is actually pretty viable, and I'm definitely going to try that as one of my to-do lists. Unfortunately, we will have to wait quite a bit because Olga is all the way on the 28th. Unlucky. Yisang in general, I think you'll be fine just benching him for now. There really isn't a reason to use him. Alright, and I think that will be it for my review. Yep. I'm quite happy with Olga, I am not happy with Yisang. And overall, I am looking forward to running a Ishmael Molar as well as a Molar Olga Outis. Yep. Alright, so that is it. You can leave your comments of what you think about these characters, or maybe some theory crafting stuff that I missed out on. I will just go and read through. But that will be it for this video. Alright, remember to log in, guys, because these characters are Season 2 limiteds, which means that next season you will not be able to dispense them. So remember to go and claim these characters. Very important to claim them now so you do not miss them out in the next season. Alright, so I think that's it. See you guys. Bye bye.